have ID on you.
I do have ID, but I haven't committed a crime.
Okay, listen, just don't start your repertoire with me because I'm the boss.
I
Okay?
know.
So the idea is we want to resolve this very peacefully and get you on your way. No issue. Okay? You have a gun on you. Take a deep breath and answer that truthfully.
I do.
Okay. You have a permit for that.
I don't know the laws in that.
It does not matter. I asked you a simple question. Do you have the permit for that gun?
I do.
What state are you from?
Arizona, we're constitutional. I don't think about it. I've lived it my entire life. I got
Gotcha. Hey,
I'm
all for guns. Trust me, we're all for guns. I'm not saying it any whatsoever. All right? But I want to see the gun. And if you don't let me see the gun, I already have probable cause to arrest you. That's not what I want to do. I understand that. I don't want to do that.
What would be the reason to see a firearm?
Because I have probable cause in the state of Maryland. If you have a firearm under Terry frisk or any of those amendments,
But why would you arrest me on those when I haven't
I
done
just
it?
told you.
But as soon as I show anything, as soon as I pull
I want to
anything,
see the gun. That's all I want to see.
it's entrapment at that point.
You already admitted that you have it. So
Yes, but at that point, it's still, you don't...
Sir, we can either do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way. And what I'm doing is giving you the avenue just to go ahead and say,
you want to see it first.
you do not have a permit in Maryland. You advised that, correct?
Well,
Did you advise that you have a permit in Maryland? Just answer the question. Okay, so you told my troopers that you do have a firearm on you. I asked you to see the permit.
I'm driving through on the traffic pass.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. What range have you shot the gun?
I haven't shot it, but I'm going to that one corner down there. There's pistol.
On this property here?
Not on this property, on the backside of the pistol range?
Yeah. When did you shoot it?
No, I haven't shot them.
So here's a simple question. You can either answer truthfully, you have a fire. Let me explain something. This is an investigation. I don't need that light in my eye.
I got you. I'm sorry.
Got it?
I was going to
You
turn
can
it off.
film all you want.
I was going to turn it off for even saying.
Okay? So, if you guys want to crowd us with an investigation, then we're going to have another issue with that too. Because legally, we're doing an investigation. Didn't ask you that. You said you have a firearm on you. I asked you if you have a permit. You said you're
I have a Second Amendment right.
in Maryland.
I have a Second Amendment right.
So the states can adopt their policies, correct? Right? I've studied social studies. I'm very good at social studies. I'm very good at Okay, then that's to the range of it.
Yes, I'm going to.
Okay. So let me see the gun then and make sure it's carried under Maryland law to go to the range. So you want just go with what I'm asking you. I want to see the gun and then make sure that it's safe carry. Okay. And the other option is going to be you go be placed under arrest under probable cause and under concealed permit.
For what time?
Carrying an illegal firearm.
Do you have proof of this at the moment? Have you seen physical proof?
You told us that.
And they've said anything, I said
And-
anything.
Under Terry, you know what Terry frisk is?
A piece?
No, Terry frisk. You know what that law is? You don't know what that law is?
Not
Means if I have probable cause to believe that you carry a firearm, which that's what I'm believing, I have a right to pat you down.
unbelievable.
I just told you the Supreme Court ruling under Terry frisk.
So do I have to commit a crime or
You
anything?
don't
for that?
have to even commit a
So
crime.
you're saying you can unconstitutionally search somebody for any
I'm not searching you. I'm patting you down.
for what?
I'm not searching.
A pat is a search. A pat is a search.
No, it's not.
It is a search. That is an unlawful search.
Let me see the firearm.
Absolutely not. At this point, it's going to be an unlawful search.
Under arrest. Under
What are you
arrest.
arresting him for?
Yes, he's under arrest.
What for?
Yeah,
I'm being arrested.
What did he do?
People.
There's a
Like
Romeo
this isn't
Alpha
proof that
Tango
shit's going on. I don't know what is. Like at this
Delta
point in
Romeo.
time,
That's on that
So
white
that's
car
why.
just gonna take over.
yeah,
Let's-
I have a Second
Let's
Amendment
video
right.
this.
A Second Amendment right. And I am not a criminal or anything of the sort. This is what they're doing. Like this is literally the reason why. Like You guys think you're good? You think you're doing good here?
Look at the cops. They got pistols on their hip, but you got them
got
on your
pistols
hip,
on
and they're
your
gonna
hip?
arrest you.
I have a second.
That's the government for you.
Chamber,
Wow.
loaded. Pen them down, put them in the car.
Some animals are more equal than others.
I honestly cannot even believe you guys are doing this.
Take your time, 10.
Like, this is the most disgusting thing.
Pat them down real good.
Group of armed men just arrested another man for also being armed.
This is literally like, this is literally the most disgusting thing you guys could possibly do right now. I'm not.
This is tyranny, folks.
This is.
This is tyranny. This is why we can't have this single agenda narrative for this convoy. This is tyranny. This is people who promise to obey and protect the Constitution who are literally arresting people for having the means to defend themselves. This is the standing armies we were warned about. Right here. And all these cops who aren't stepping in to defend him, equally guilty.
We're standing up for people. We're telling the truth about what's going on in there. And we're telling you guys what's going on.
They're kidnapping him. This is politician-approved kidnapping of a man for having the ability to defend himself.
No, it's fucked up, dude. This is the most fucked up thing.
This is truly fucked up. He's right. This is what you get when you're a subject, not a customer. When you're forced to pay for a department and they shove their service down your throat, you get tyranny. You get your loss of rights while they maintain theirs. Or I should say violation. You never lose your rights. They're just violated by people like this, like what we're filming here. Are you going to just watch it? I mean, you recognize this is a violation of his constitutional rights. Is the United States Constitution not the law of the land? According to y'all's laws? I mean, that's got to be tough to look yourself in the mirror, right? A man arrested in America for having a firearm by a bunch of men with firearms on their hips who have sworn to defend the Constitution, but they don't want to lose their jobs. They're extortion-funded jobs that are shoved down our throats. Wow. This is what America has come to. Because these governments, they have this rule book and they act like they're not morally culpable for their actions. But they are. Your responsibility to do the right thing supersedes any responsibility you think you have to obey some politician. We're all human beings. This is total bullshit.
Well, they've said it in the driver's meeting. They said if you don't agree with and do something different outside of that, you probably don't want here. Was pretty much the words that were said.
Everybody here.
How they're going about doing it.
That's not what I'm talking about here. We support what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we came here. I think this movement is way bigger than what they do up on stage. There's people here. I quit my job. I sold my house. I came here with my own agenda, which is directly in line with what they're about, the philosophy of liberty. I support them because you have a right to freedom of autonomy. Nobody has a right to tell you how you can run your own business. But they silence people when we try to speak it up on stage. It's the same message.
Yeah. To end all emergency mandates and emergency powers acts.
You obviously don't agree with how they're going about doing it.
No, I never said that. No, I said a lot of people here actually. I have been interviewing them and they feel that way.
I've met people that would like to do something a little more aggressive or what,
They're not being
but they
aggressive
still
like this.
are.
For what? What do you?
Well, I just asked you, you seem to not agree with how the People's Convoy is running things
Wait,
in the
they're kicking
organization.
people out. Yeah, I don't. That's weird. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like free speech.
Yeah, I don't agree with it either.
I thought you were talking about the other actions.
I think that this whole movement is way bigger than what they're making it out to be, and they're trying to force a very specific objective. We all want freedom. You know, we want freedom from tyranny, freedom from these regulations. I'm sorry, not the regulations, the mandates.
The emergency powers.
The emergency powers, we agree with that, but there's a lot more that we can be doing while we're here. You know, and so we're it's just that there's a lot of people who are like, well,
There's a ton of problems that need to get solved in
Yeah.
the world. They're focused on something very specific that's attainable
yeah,
right this second, that needs to happen to save multiple people
Yeah.
so we can go back to work and get our lives back.
yeah,
I'm one of those people. So when I say we, I agree with that because I'm one of those people as well. However,
no,
you want other things. And I've talked to other people that would like to see them do more on the trucking aspect.
yeah.
But they've also made it very clear this is about those specific problems that we're all facing, and that's what they're focused on. They're going to get that, and then maybe go do some other things after that.
That'd be great.
Um,
As long as they're not squelching free speech.
one of the things that I noticed with the Ricky Bobby incident was, one, Ricky Bobby had been there for I think 15 or 16 days providing his equipment there, voluntarily providing it, and when they kicked him out, from what I was hearing, they didn't even know his name. He'd been there for 15 days. They didn't even know his name. He got up on stage, and it didn't. I saw what happened. I don't attend it physically, but I watched the live streams, and I saw what happened. And I didn't. When I saw it, I was like, okay, I kind of understand. There's a couple of almost details that they didn't want him to say, and he didn't, but he almost did, right? And they didn't like it, and I was like, I still don't know that it was an appropriate response. And just the fact that they would kick him out after all that service they had given him and call him some liberal something. And he was upset because when they took the mic from him, it's his equipment. And they started trash talking him with his own equipment, don't even know his name. And he's like, what do you mean? He's not. So he took the mic back or whatever it was.
His place.
It was his property, the speakers, and they weren't
on
giving.
that stage
They're not
then.
giving the people the respect that they deserve. You know, we're here too. We've sacrificed. We want what the truckers want, and we want more. We want to be able to make this as effective as possible, and not just
How many leaders
one
do you think
thing.
there should be in a movement?
I think that leadership should be a fluid thing. You could have 100 leaders. You could have 10 leaders.
Sure.
You could have one leader. You could have no leaders. You could have everyone leading themselves. Whatever it is, I think it should be decentralized. I think that the people up on stage should be free to do their thing. They shouldn't try to, step on other people. I think what Ricky did was fine. I mean, if they had just kind of ignored it and then talked to him afterward and been like, hey, look, man, you've been here with us all this time. Here's what happened, and here's why we didn't want that to happen, and we don't want it to happen again. Approaching him respectfully rather than this authoritarian, like, no, you can't say that, and getting up on the mic, we don't know, that has nothing to do with us, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, that is kind of what I was hoping we would start to see, and I'm part of this. I quit my job and sold my house,
There's been zero respect for the fact that these are younger people too. These are 25-year-olds.
Why does that matter?
Because they're still learning how to handle these situations. The elders should be teaching them and walking them through how to be better, and not just kicking them out.
Sure.
Yeah, Ricky Buddy loves this convoy. He loves this
Yeah.
way, so
Yeah.
he was just trying to
And I
help.
know what all these kids out here need to be protected from. Because I was in child sex trafficking for 2 years. For 2 years when I was a baby. From the time I was 1 until I was almost 3. And I know what this government is up to. And I know about all this sex trafficking that they're doing. I have been keeping track of it. They have rescued almost 1,200 to 2,000 kids in Ukraine. Russia has from child sex trafficking, and more are coming every single day. And we're sitting here funding a country that is
What does that have to do
obliging.
with what we're talking about right now?
Oh, yeah, okay.
We're talking about, he's saying that it's young people and they need to be
Yeah,
treated
that's-
differently because they're
that's
young
what I'm
people.
saying.
No, they
and
need
taught,
to be
but-
mentored, not
sure,
kicked
sure.
out.
Yeah.
Well, I just
But
think
it
that
sounds like
I think more transparency would be the best thing.
Okay.
Because there's all these questions of what's happening and, oh, don't say that. And it's like, who's saying what? There just needs to be transparency, a sit down, something like that, so that everyone's in the dark, in their own ways. And I think that's not healthy, ultimately. I think this can thrive and do awesome things, but, where's the transparency? There have been rumors and things, and some people are very confident in them, and I've not examined. But
rumors. There's been a lot of rumors, and we've
well,
seen
they
it over
may
the
be
last
more
30
than
days,
rumors. That's the
and
thing.
It's built even more since we've been here in Hagerstown.
And that's why we need transparency. If there's a rumor, it needs to be, brought to the forefront in some setting.
Your friend that just got arrested was spouting all of those rumors that I've been hearing for 2 weeks now that we've talked about and found out what's been going on. He didn't want to listen to an elder and hear an opposing viewpoint based on what's been said and done to counter those rumors. And now he's in a squad car going someplace. But yet, I understand you have an opinion and you're supposed to have that, but you don't like how things are being run. Is it your place to decide how things are run?
Well, I mean,
who to run, okay? We all need to be influencing each other to take care of these matters.
That's an opinion, and we're trying to understand where.
So I have a specific belief around authority, and it's that all authority comes from ownership. So if anything, the property owner would have the ability to delegate authority over his own property, and I think that was laid out to some extent here tonight, and it was the first I'd ever heard. One of the gentlemen who was up here with glasses and part of security, I think he had claimed, had said, I have a deed by the owner for protection. First I'd heard of it, and if everyone had known that at some point and it had been communicated, a lot of this stuff could have been, prevented.
Did you ever hear them talk about the idea of policing? I'm going to use ourselves because that was the word that they used.
Yeah,
they said
it
it's
did.
up to us to police ourselves from the far left and the far right because this is a movement of the people.
Yes.
You did hear that.
I have heard that from other people, like on the security team, who were walking about, and I'm not good with the names.
You heard it from the drivers meeting.
I've heard self-governance, and we're making an example of
very specific about policing.
Yes.
Looking out for one another, making sure that bad elements are.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. It's up to us to police ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And that's our responsibility ultimately. Anyway, like at any point. So. Yeah. Go ahead.
You don't. It sounds like you don't believe in this idea that there is an organization and there's people who make decisions for the People's Convoy as an organization and the movement that we're at.
Well, I mean, I think there is an organization called the People's Convoy, and I even came in with that specific convoy, but it was never. I don't think that it was ever a centralized movement. I think people had an idea. The people who first started this and put the meeting.
Who do you believe started this?
What's the guy's name? Brian? Is that his name?
Yeah, a lot of people started.
The guy that gets up on stage every time. Well, he was gone a couple of days.
I would think if you've been here for a month, you'd know exactly.
I have been here this long.
I know, but you should know who's up on stage.
I'm not here for the leadership. I'm not here for the leadership, and I don't pay attention to the names. We've been watching the live streams. I don't pay attention to whose names or
like
what.
You've been at a completely different event than everyone else when you don't know who Brian is and what his position is.
No, I've
in the People's Convoy.
I've been here, and I'm aware. I hear the names, but my focus is not on who that leadership is in their own initiatives. My focus is talking about philosophy with people, the philosophy behind what they're here to do, and I support them in that way. That's why I quit my job and came here. Is there's a philosophy behind
you're not
why
here for
those
the
things.
People's Convoy, you're here for your own agenda.
You're here to support the People's Convoy.
We're here to support
But
the People's
yet you
Convoy,
don't know
literally.
who the People's Convoy is.
No, it's us. That is all of us. All of us that
But I
came.
asked you very specifically,
Brian is
who
not the
leadership
People's
of
Convoy.
the
That's
People's Convoy is.
I
And it's been
staunchly
discussed a lot.
oppose the idea that Brian is the People's Convoy and gets to say what all of us are here for. That's just not the
You
case.
would actually hear that Brian is one of the people that gets up on stage. But
Yes.
there's actually 30, and he said it multiple times. He said it in the meeting with Ted Cruz, that there's 30 drivers that started this movement.
Mm-hmm.
It was led and started by the drivers, but
the
it's
Canadian
about
drivers,
people.
right? This was
They're
an
just
example of the Canadian.
spearhead is the word that he's used.
I wanted to join the Canadian drivers, but I can't go past the border, you know. And I decided this would be a good opportunity when it's coming through Oklahoma. I was like, well, I can join these drivers because I do support ending the mandates, ending the Emergency Powers Act. Like, I do support that. There's a philosophy behind why I support it. And I wanted to come here and talk to people about that because I think there's a foundation that needs to be led if we're going to have lasting freedom and lasting protection from things like Emergency Powers Act, you know, among other
But it
things.
seems like you've ignored the whole idea of what the People's Convoy is, and
Because he couldn't answer one question immediately.
well, yeah, exactly. That's
So,
that's
I mean-
the point. Is that
Because
we're
I
talking about
Just
the
being
leadership.
Specific. I think you just didn't want to talk about Brian. Like, you know.
It's
Brian's
not about
Brian's
Brian,
one
it's
guy.
about the
So why
People's
does
Convoy
that mean
and the
that he
reason you're
doesn't know?
upset, and I'm trying to understand if you actually are aware of what the People's Convoy is about.
Yeah,
From what we've heard them say, yeah.
yeah.
It sounds like you've missed a lot.
So like what?
What do you think we've missed?
There's a lot
We've
of-
been going to
Because you
every
don't know who
campfire.
Brian is.
We've been going to every
Brian
single
is-
campfire talking with
Brian
people
is
this whole
just a
time.
guy, okay?
Yes,
Okay, he's just a guy. He's not.
absolutely.
Okay,
I
this
agree
is
with
for
you.
the people.
Yes.